That's my dirty shirt and socks over there. Pick them up and throw them in that laundry basket.
The 1980s served up television's most unforgettable oddities, where the strange ruled prime time. Some shows were so quirky, they baffled parents and burned themselves into kids' memories. Here are the top 10 weirdest shows from that era, ones only 80s kids truly remember. Number 1. Punky Brewster's Punky's Place. Animated segments from NBC. Let's go back to a Saturday morning in 1985, cereal bowl in hand, when NBC decided to shake up one of its most beloved family sitcoms. Punky Brewster was known for tackling hard topics with heart, from friendship woes to adoption struggles. But then came a twist no one saw coming. Suddenly, between live-action scenes, viewers were swept into colorful animated segments. Here, Punky, Cherie, and their friends met magical creatures, chatted with talking furniture, and even zipped through wild interdimensional adventures. All this zaniness unfolded in Punky's Place, a bizarre contrast to the show's usually down-to-earth feel. These animated inserts left studios and longtime fans scratching their heads. After episodes where Punky would reunite with her lost dog or face down a bully, out popped a cartoon genie or a sassy lamp-cracking jokes. The sudden switch baffled grown-ups, but left kids feeling like they'd found a secret club, the only ones who understood just how wild TV could get. The segments only lasted through 1985 and 1986, as NBC quietly pulled the experiment, steering Punky back to realism. But ask any true 80s kid, and they'll remember the joyfully chaotic mix of heartfelt storytelling and playful absurdity inside Punky's Place. Everything about those animated detours, bright colors, wacky voices, and out-of-this-world logic set the tone for what made 80s TV so thrillingly unpredictable. Number 2. Zoobilee Zoo from syndication. Flashes of glittering face paint and plush animal ears. That's how Zoobilee Zoo stamped itself into the imagination of 80s kids. Premiering in 1986 and airing mostly in early mornings through syndication, this variety show invited little viewers into a Technicolor utopia, hosted by a crew of costumed Zoobles, with names like Mayor Ben, played with infectious energy by Ben Vereen himself. Each episode blended upbeat original songs, pratfalls, and skits, all wrapped in a gentle lesson about kindness, cooperation, or creativity. The visuals, though, are what burrowed into your brain. The animal makeup, so detailed it bordered on the uncanny, paired with elaborate wigs and rainbow fur, was mesmerizing for toddlers and straight-up bizarre for anyone older. Red cat noses, sequined tails, and oversized bunny feet bounced across the set, a stage painted in wild sherbet hues that seemed brighter than daylight. Underneath the oddball style, each episode brimmed with earnest intention, treating young viewers to lyrical numbers about facing fears or understanding friendship. Zoobilee Zoo thrived for just 2 seasons, with new episodes ending in 1987, though reruns lingered into the early 90s. Maybe the onslaught of shinier, faster cartoons dimmed its magic. Or maybe it was just too weird for the mainstream. Still, the show lives on in flashes, a jingle, a swirl of color, a memory of wonder and strangeness right after you finished your bowl of cereal. Number 3. The Snorks from NBC. A splash of neon color, a tingling theme song, and an ocean city brimming with oddball creatures. NBC's The Snorks was like a sunrise you watched from the bottom of the sea. Premiering in 1984, this animated series offered up a strange aquatic world where every resident sported a bendy snorkel on top of their head. Part biology, part accessory. The premise couldn't have been goofier. Follow all-star Seaworthy and his friends as they zipped and zipped through Snorkeland, dodging baddies like the scheming Bigweed and adapting to little underwater troubles that always felt epic to 10-year-olds glued to their bowls of Fruit Loops. The vibe was part Smurfs, part Jetsons, but extra weird. Snorkeland itself was a bubble-popping wonder, jammed with snail mail couriers, kelp gadgets, and clumsy pratfalls. But unlike their woodland cousins in blue, the Snorks kept to their watery home through environments that shimmered with 1980s pastel overdrive. The show blended silly gags with plots about teamwork, and sometimes a dash of eco-lesson, keeping kids entertained and parents bemused. It ran for 4 seasons, finally swimming off into cartoon memory in 1989, leaving behind a dedicated fanbase. Today, even the theme song bubbles back in the minds of anyone who watched, a soundtrack for Saturday mornings when the only thing stranger than the shows was the cereal floating in your milk. Number 4. Max Headroom from ABC. Static crackles, then a pixelated face winks onto your old living room screen. It's Max Headroom, the wisecracking, stuttering artificial host who made ABC's schedule in 1987 feel straight out of a cyberpunk future. This wasn't just another quirky drama. It was a bold leap into the digital unknown. Starring Matt Frewer as both crusading reporter Edison Carter and his glitchy computer-generated alter ego, Max, the show built a dystopian city where mega corporations ruled the news, and screens followed you everywhere. With its jarring camera angles, dizzying fast cuts, and satirical humor, Max Headroom nailed the anxieties of a world addicted to television. It was eons ahead of its time, forecasting not only the rise of digital personalities, but an entire culture obsessed with media and image. Yet beneath the flickering graphics lay sharp social commentary. The show explored censorship, greed, and fake news long before those buzzwords hit the real headlines. Maybe it was too much for 1988 when most TVs were still wood-paneled and families weren't ready to see the dark side of their own remote controls. Lasting just 14 episodes before cancellation, Max vanished, but its neon afterglow would echo on, influencing everything from music videos to modern shows about virtual reality. As the credits rolled, you could almost smell the ozone from the set lights, leaving kids to wonder if their world would ever really be 20 minutes into the future. Number 5. The New Adventures of Beans. Baxter from Fox. Color-splashed wigs, high-top sneakers pounding a suburban sidewalk, and the frantic soundtrack of a teenage double life. This is the world of Beans Baxter, a show that made Fox's 1987 debut lineup a grab bag of delights and oddities. The New Adventures of Beans Baxter followed average high school kid Beans, played by Jonathan Ward, who suddenly finds himself tangled in an underground spy game after his dad gets kidnapped by a villainous syndicate. Every episode was an unpredictable roller coaster featuring homemade gadgets, improbable escapes, and a rogues gallery of cartoonish baddies that seemed ripped from a late-night comic book. Created by savage Steve Holland, the creative mind behind summer camp classic Better Off Dead, the show gleefully blurred the line between parody and adventure. Inventions ranged from exploding breakfast food to rocket-powered skateboards, and Beans' sidekicks were as cheerfully clueless as the villains were diabolical. The plotting was slapstick, the tone hypercharged, the weekly threats always outrageous. Fox had hoped to strike youth culture gold, but despite a devoted following, the series wrapped after just one season in 1987, leaving fans with an itch for closure and a taste for the bizarre. If you grew up with Beans, you remember the musty smell of an after-school basement, friends arguing over which villain was the weirdest, and the sweet shock of realizing TV could be this completely, gleefully unhinged. Let's pause for a second. Did you ever watch Beans Baxter, or catch any of Fox's weird early sitcoms? Which bizarre secret agent moment or outlandish invention do you remember most? Share your favorite memories in the comments below. Number 6. Alf, the animated series from NBC. A purple sky swirls above a landscape dotted with cheese moons and furry, nosy creatures. Welcome to Melmac, the bizarre homeworld of Alf. In the fall of 1987, NBC delivered a surprise by launching Alf, the animated series, shifting everyone's favorite wisecracking alien from his suburban American living room to a place where eating cats was not a joke, but a norm. This cartoon prequel peeled back the curtain on ALF's life before he crash-landed in the Tanner family's garage, introducing viewers to his quirky family, oddball neighbors, and a tone of galactic mayhem that made the original sitcom seem almost ordinary. Unlike the live-action ALF, voiced and performed by Paul Fusco, the animated version leaned into psychedelic colors and off-the-wall space villains, turning Melmac into a spectacle of 80s imagination. Kids who tuned in got a double dose of weird, Saturday morning slapstick mixed with jokes that nodded to fans of the primetime show. But as tastes shifted and network schedules changed, ALF's animated escapades only lasted 2 seasons, wrapping up in 1989. Still, the theme song, the endless array of Melmatian foods, and talk of cat burgers live rent-free in the minds of anyone who caught an episode. Even now, a glimpse of that zany world sparks a craving for more TV oddities lurking just around the cosmic bend. Number 7. Misfits of Science from NBC. Neon-lit labs, synth music buzzing in the background, and a group of unlikely heroes. Misfits of Science was the sort of oddball wonder only the mid-80s could produce. Premiering on NBC in 1985, This cult series assembled a ragtag team, a scientist who could shrink himself, a girl with ice powers, and a rock and roll luchador who could hurl electrical bolts. Few shows blended superpowers and slapstick quite like this. The cast was just as unexpected. Courtney Cox, fresh off her breakout role in Bruce Springsteen's Dancing in the Dark video, joined as Gloria, the shy, telekinetic teen whose powers nearly always made things weirder. Dr. Elvin Lincoln, played by Kevin Peter Hall, routinely grew to the size of a desk toy, offering laughably simple special effects that made even Ghostbusters seem big budget by comparison. Despite being billed as NBC's answer to superhero fever, Misfits of Science never quite found its audience. Maybe it was the corny gags or the wild swings between sci-fi, crime caper, and pure camp. After one vivacious season, just 16 episodes, the show faded away in 1986, leaving fans wondering what could have been. But for the lucky few who caught it, Misfits of Science holds a permanent slot in the gallery of TV's lovable oddities. As those neon credits rolled, you realized this was Saturday Adventure at its weirdest, and no other decade would dare try it twice. Number 8. Out of This World from syndication. A teen freezing time just by pressing her fingers together. Only in the late 80s was this a standard Sunday night plot. Out of This World, which ran from 1987 to 1991 in first-run syndication, introduced us to Evie Garland, a sunny California teenager whose biggest secret was out of this galaxy. Her dad was an alien from the distant planet Antareus. Her only direct line to him? A glowing, glassy cube that lit up in her room, delivering wisdom and often sarcasm in the unmistakable voice of Burt Reynolds. The combination of fish-out-of-water high school hijinks, bizarre superpowers, and old-fashioned sitcom gags created a vibe that was equal parts heartwarming and head-scratching. Viewers tuned in week after week for scenes where time ground to a halt, classmates froze mid-sentence, and Evie's single mom tried to juggle PTA meetings with cosmic parenting. Filmed in front of a live studio audience, the show mashed together E.T.-style sci-fi with the familiar rhythm of laugh tracks and family misunderstandings. Few millennials have even heard of Out of This World, but for Gen Xers, it's remembered as the show where the rules of reality were blissfully optional. The glowing cube's hum and the gentle click of Evie's fingers became synonymous with TV magic, a sweet reminder that, for a little while, anything truly felt possible. Number 9. Small Wonder from syndication. Few sights unsettle quite like a freckle-faced robot girl serving suburban realness with a deadpan stare. Small Wonder, which premiered in 1985 and ran for 4 bizarre seasons in first-run syndication, delivered a family sitcom turned fever dream. The Lawson family adopted Vicky, a child-sized android built by engineer Dad Ted, trying to keep her secret from nosy neighbors and winding up in one awkward scenario after another. Vicky's monotone delivery and literal interpretations of commands were meant to be endearing, but for many, they became unintentionally eerie. The show's shoestring budget was evident in its stiff sets and canned laughter, making even the simplest living room scene feel oddly otherworldly. Still, over time, Small Wonder won a strange kind of affection from viewers, carving out cult status not just for its oddball premise, but for the uncanny charm of Tiffany Brissett's performance as Vicky and the show's refusal to wink at its own weirdness. Debates still rage in online forums over whether it was meant to be a parody or simply stumbled into the uncanny valley by accident. Either way, the Lawson family and their robot daughter made the late 1980s a little stranger, and for some, that was the entire appeal. As the credits rolled over another day of robotic mischief, you couldn't help but wonder, was suburbia ever really that normal in the first place? Number 10. Manimal from NBC. Feathers ruffled and claws extended, Manimal pounced onto NBC's prime time in 1983 with one of television's most audacious premises. Dr. Jonathan Chase, a debonair professor with the secret ability to morph into any animal, teamed cheekbones and tuxedos with raw transformation magic. Each week, viewers watched Simon McCorkindale deliver a dazzling display of 80s special effects, his hand grotesquely elongating into a claw, or panther fur rippling across his cheek, as he fought crime by turning into hawks, panthers, or even snakes, all to a pounding synthesizer score. Yet despite its cult following, and a slot alongside Knight Rider and the A-Team, Manimal's wild premise never quite blended into the TV landscape. 8 episodes aired between September and December 1983 before NBC pulled the plug. The beastly visuals no match for middling ratings and ballooning production costs. Still, the sight of a suave British hero melting into jungle cats lived on well past its brief run, with schoolyards buzzing about which animal you'd choose if you could shapeshift at will. Manimal may have disappeared quickly from the airwaves, but its absurd confidence and rubbery effects planted a flag in 80s nostalgia vaults. It was proof that sometimes a show can be both a flash in the pan and a legend in the minds of imaginative kids. The credits rolled, but that theme song and those howling transitions still echo, pushing us onward with a sense of wild possibility.